Good day, ladies and gentlemen. So this is now our week 6 video run through for your oral communication in context subject. So the focus of our week number 6 is the types of speeches and speech styles. So I'm screening our module here in our screen right now. I did not make any more PowerPoint presentation because I find this an easier way for me to run through the module for this video. Okay, so we will start off, of course, with the targets for this week number 6, which are to distinguish the types of speeches and speech style, to identify social situations where inappropriate speech style can be used, to name the types of speech, and to identify the purpose of each type of speech. Last week, if I am not wrong, we talked about the speech contexts. In one way or another, actually, the speech contexts are related to the speech styles that we will be talking about right now. Last time, ang contents ng speech context is kung diin, no? Ang situation kung sa diin nagkakatabo ang nagkalain-lain ng classes ng communication. Subong naman niya ang focus ng week number 6, no, is ang types ng speech na nagkakabagay sa mga situations na nagkakatabo sa palibot natin. So here, we have your try this activity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a short quiz here trying to find out how much do we know already about the topic. Okay, so you may answer this, try these activities, as part of your formative assessment, but this does not belong already to the graded na mga activities natin because the graded activities are only those that appear in your answer sheet. We will talk about them later. Okay? So, in the first part of try this, you are taught to identify, or select among the choices that the items or what are being asked or what are being described in each item. Okay? Choose the letter of your choice from the given options. Okay, so number 1, for example, we have speech about coronavirus, its effect, and danger. What type of speech would this probably be? Informative, persuasive, entertainment, or demonstration? Okay, so we all know we are trying to inform, deliver information, so it's informative speech, letter A. Number 2, a travelogue about shutdown. Okay, so we know that travelogue is a type of information wherein we are trying to entertain your audience, sa kung ano man ang mga pwede nila mahimo while they are in shutdown. So number 2 would be an entertainment speech. How to cook chicken adobo would have to be demonstrative or a demonstration speech. Dinner speech will have to be persuasive, or you could also use entertainment speech. Depende sa kung ano ang purpose kung nga inhimo ang ina dinner speech. But mostly, the dinner speeches are done to persuade those who are listening. Number 5, become a catalyst of change is also a type of persuasive speech because you are trying to push your audience to become catalysts of change. Part B, study the following images and answer the questions that follow. So we have here 4 images. The questions say, choose one scenario from the given pictures, give at least one observation in relation to whom the person is talking to. And from the same chosen scenario, what kind of language would you use? Will the same language be applicable to the rest of the scenarios given? Why? So there are 4 scenarios here. We have first, probably lovers because there are hearts at the back, not intimately talking to each other. Ano yan ang ilag ni Suyahan sini, mga late night talks, mga intimate conversations. Tapos din naman sa pihak, we have a doctor and a patient consulting the doctor, probably para sa clarifications ng iyang mga diagnosis or sakit. And then we have here on the third picture, a woman speaking in front of a crowd. And lastly, in number 4, we have probably one crying woman or sad woman trying to express her emotions to 2 people or 2 other women. probably her friends, dira sa picture. So, sa apat nga ni sa mga pictures, lain-lain ang context, lain-lain man ang type of speech nga dapat gamiton, no? So, ang inyo direction is for you to be able to give one observation, no? Kung simpo o kung ano ang context sang nagkakatabok nga conversation or communication sa picture. Then, ang question is kung anong klase ka language ang gingamit sa amo na iya nga situation. Example, kung diri sa number 1, anong klase ka language ay hanang ila ginagamit? Is it the same as the language that we would use in number 2 or in situations in number 3 and number 4? Amo na ang focus ang part B sa ating try this. Then we have here your first activity number 1, play with your imagination. Imagine yourself a speaker who was invited by your community to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of computer gaming. Okay? So, as if you are to speak to a public, magbibigay ka ng speech sa isang group of people, probably mga young people, about the advantages and the disadvantages of computer gaming. So, makreate ka diri sa isa ka speech. You will make your own speech, around 5 to 10 sentences only about these advantages and disadvantages of computer gaming. Isulat lang alay. Then, in activity number 2, you will answer the following questions in listed here. Okay? How do you address a priest? Or a pastor, perhaps. For those who do not know or who are not Catholics, you may consider your pastor or your religious leader, your imam, if you're a Muslim. Paano kaya mag-istorya sa priest? Is it the same way as you address or talk to a mayor? How about a stranger? Paano ka mag-greet sa imo teachers? Paano ka magtawag sa imo nga kabulig, or housemate sa balay? How do you address a political candidate? How would you like to be called by your friends? How would you address your close friends or relatives? What would you want to call your future wife or husband? How do you say sorry if you had done something wrong? Okay? So kung makita natin, in these different contexts given here in the questions activity 2, lain-lain ang situation, lain-lain ang addressee or ang imo audience. So sa nagkalain-lain audience, manotice ninyo, one thing na ginatumbok sang ini nga activity is that you are using different languages. Kung ano man tong words nga gingamit, the tono nga gingamit mo when you were talking to your housemate or talking to your friends. Kung gachismis man kumadaga trash to kanay kamada sa imo nga mga upod sa online game, hindi mo man puro mahimo ang amo nga language when you talk to your pastor or your priest or if you talk to your mayor or a stranger nga hindi kilala. Because there are different contexts and there are different speeches nga nagabagay sa different context nga ginapakita or gina-experience naton with different audiences. So here we are taught in explore a part, answer the following questions that we have here in your activity notebook. Pero I think I did not include this already in the answer sheet. Whichever activity is part of the answer sheet, you just complete that, compile that for submission. So here we have question. What do you think is the difference between speaking from a memorized speech and speaking from a manuscript speech? Okay? May memorized speech nga ginatawag, kag may manuscript speech nga ginatawag. We will know what the difference between the two are later. Okay? But in school, kung may face-to-face na tani, makita naton nga may mga practical examples kita sa klase, sa sulod sang inyong mga subjects, na nakalain-lain inyong subject, may practical examples gid sang memorized speech kag manuscript speech. If you remember or if you have experienced, may ibanda nga ginapasa ulo sang kanta. Sa isa ka particular subject sa junior high school, ginapasa ulo ang kanta. Tapos hindi ka kagwa sa classroom kung wala mo maubos sa ulo ang kanta nga ina. O kung wala mo maubos sa ulo ang speech nga ina. Tapos may ara niya iban na ginabasa lang. Okay? Ginapabasa lang. So anong kinalain? Sang feeling kung ga-memorize ka versus sa nagabasa ka lang. Number 2, what is the difference between an extemporaneous speech and an impromptu speech? How do you know nga isa is extemporaneous and an isa is impromptu? kita, sa mga Filipinos, usually kung medyo Filipino understanding lang, gina-exchange naton, gina-interchange naton dili ang extemporaneous speech kag impromptu speech. But there is a slight difference between them, and we will know about that later. Number 3, do you think that facial expressions, gestures, and movements are necessary in speech delivery? Kinahanglan ba lang ang magulag o kamot? May impact pa lang itsura. May impact pala ang gestures, no? When you do a speech. May ara ini bala effect sa imo audience nga nagapamati sa imo. Kung isa ka audience nagapamati lang sa radyo versus ang isa ka audience naghalantaw sa video, may impact, may lain ayhan, no? Nga epekto ang ining mga non-verbal actions. Part B. Identify what speech style works best in the following speech situations. So, ginahatag na rin, no? There are 5 speech styles given here. Wala pa ni magtagaan sa definition in this part of the module. Pero gin-consult na kung ano ang nabalaan ninyo regarding intimate, consultative, casual, formal, or frozen speeches. Okay? So, when you consult a dentist, by the name lang sang, or by the label lang it is in speech situation. Ano ay handera sa lima ang bagay, no? When consulting a dentist. Ara na may word na ganun. Nagwa consulting. So, it is consultative. Number 2, when talking to a priest, dindira sa lima ang nagabagay nga type of speech situation or speech style gamiton. Number 3, when delivering a speech. Na wala man di ganun specify kung ano nga speech ang in-deliver, but most probably when you deliver a speech in public. Okay? Number 4, when greeting a friend or an acquaintance ng kamu lang sa mga kilala mo, sa mga acquaintance mo, sa mga friends mo na kaistoryahanan. Anong speech style ang best nyo gamiton? Number 5, when reciting the panunumpa sa watawat ng Pilipinas, which we do sa face-to-face pa sa una during flag ceremonies. Actually, we do this in virtual flag ceremony, pero I know man, ang iban sa virtual flag, kapamatig man to sang bayang mag-ilaw or blue pang hinirang, kapamatig sa panunumpa, pero kapangapi. Ang iban wala pa ganit kabangon. So, in cases when we do this face-to-face, we do this in actual, ano ang speech style na nagabagay when we recite the panunumpa sa watawat ng Pilipinas. So, try to identify the different speech styles. 5 kabilog ang speech styles na ginhatag diri. Kung 5 man kabilog ang items. So, most probably, isa is 1:1 ang answer. Mintagan, nakita ka kinasang sa number 1, consultative. Ay consulting na ni a dentist. How about the rest? Number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Try to decipher which of these speech styles would best work for these items. Now here we are given the short discussion regarding the 4 basic types of speech according to purpose. Amo na ni pinaka-content sang module. Informative speech, number 1, generally talks about people, events, places, things, or processes. Its sole purpose is to provide information. Amo lang na ang dapat na tumatandaan. When we say informative, it gives information. For as long as it gives information, it is informative. Another thing that we have to remember, it focuses less on emotions and more on the communication of facts or solid information. So, ma-deliver lang siya yan. Gusto niya lang ma-inform ka regardless sa kung ano ang imubat kagon, regardless sa kung ano ang iya emotion, ano ang iya nga ginabad ka about sa iya gina-deliver, it doesn't matter. What matters is, mahambal yan lang ang iya gusto hinambal. That is informative speech. Example, a professor lecturing on public speaking, a scientist speaking about newly discovered vaccine, President Rodrigo Duterte delivering the SONA or nang talk to the people every week. Those are examples of informative speeches. Kahit para lang na iya makibaluan natin, ma-idea kita sa information, sa data na dapat nila i-deliver. Kadua, persuasive speech. Persuasive speech aims to convince the listeners or the audience to support the speaker's argument. Iniya sa persuasive, gina-persuade ka na, gina-pangaluyagan ka na sa speaker to agree or disagree with a particular topic. Influence the thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors of the listeners. Sorry. So, kinahanglan na may influensya, no? May epekto sa imo, maliso ang ulo mo, ma-motivate ka to do something. That's the purpose of persuasive speech. So kung hambal siya for the sake of you going into his or her party, no, kung may mga nagadikta man sa imo, uh, that would be an example of a persuasive speech. Kung may isa ka ka-friend nga nag-istoryahanay ka po tapos nag-monologue siya about sa kung anong mga kayuhan nga nahimo ni BBM o ni Lenny, no? Trying to please you, trying to get your side, no, or sympathy. That is an example of a persuasive speech. So example here is a barangay captain asking for the community people's support on the following basic health protocols against COVID-19. Another example is a team leader convincing his teammates to use another strategy. And then a student asking his fellow students to vote for him in the election. So papaabot na po yung election 2022 at makita naton, no, sa mga televisions, sa mga online platforms, kadamo na sa nakaguluwa ang mga persuasive speech trying to impress us, trying to sway our choices, especially when it comes to politics here in the Philippines, no? But persuasive speech is not only about politics. Bisan sa mga bagay nga gusto niya pala makuha ang imo simpatya, makuha ang imo nga makuha ka sa side niya. No, example, kung nagapangaluyag ng lalaki, labalaba ang ginahambaya sa babae, no, that is also an example of persuasive speech para mag-agree ang babae nga at sige, kita na lang. No, that is an example of a persuasive speech when you're trying to capture the emotion or the support of somebody. That becomes a persuasive speech. Next, we have number 3, entertainment speech. This type of speech aims to make people happy. Comedy, no? Entertainment, kalinawan ng siya ang purpose ng entertainment speech. Sometimes it's not really nga makadlaw ka, no? Entertainment speech can be something which can also trigger sadness, trigger sympathy, trigger fear, trigger surprise, no? Pero for the purpose lang of entertainment, not for the purpose nga may beyond that pa nga mga tinutuyok. It intends to amuse the audience or arouse their emotions. Not only to make you feel happy, but to arouse emotions. But for the sole purpose lang of being entertained. Wala ka lang idiografon. So gusto mo may mahimo ka, gusto mo lang mag-spend isang time mo, mamatik ka sa isa ka entertainment speech, malantaw ka sa isa ka entertainment speech, no, because it amuses you and it arouses whatever emotions like that. Okay? Kung example, here we have a teacher telling her most embarrassing moment to her class. No, hindi lang na siya informative. But others sometimes nagasalot si teacher sa mga muni-muni sa klase kay tungod nga natakaan na mamati or namburingan na ang mga estudyante. So para medyo ma-arouse sila, manging curious sila, ga-transfer siya into entertainment speech. A motorcycle rider telling his most dangerous stunt, a bride talking about her funny moments before the wedding. So, amo lang kita siya, to entertain. Wala na siya sa purpose. Kung malipatan mo man ang iyang ginhambal nga na after a few weeks, after a few days, after even a few hours, no, it doesn't matter. Basta sa moment na namatik ka, nalingaw ka. That is the sole purpose of entertainment speech. Number 4, demonstration speech. Aims to inform like the informative speech. However, an informative speech should include the how to do demonstration. Okay? This type of speech is about procedures of how things work. That's why gitawag siya nga demonstration speech. Kaya hindi siya kinanglan nga maghatag ka lang information. Hindi siya or kabus kung ma-inform ka lang. Nga this is how you do this. Rather, diriya kasulod ang procedure. No? Kag sa pagsulod sa procedure, most of the time may demonstration. Samtang gahambal ka, nagaubra ka. No? You are doing what you are saying. Why? For your audience to be able to understand and follow exactly what you wanted to say. No? That's why mabudlay ang demonstration speech kung audio lang siya. Kung na-notice ninyo, uso na subong nga wala na sa manual-manual nga ginabasa. Ang mga estudyante kung paano magmuna, how to, nagadirekta na lang sa YouTube. No nga kay nagahambal dira, sometimes gani wala nagahambal, may background music lang. No, pero makita mo may action nga ginahimo, may procedure, may hulag nga ginahimo. No, kung paano inibrahon, kung paano inaobrahon. That is demonstration speech. Kay ginatutunan ka kung paano obrahon ang isa ka bagay through a demonstrative activity, through a procedural explanation with matching actions. Example, a master baker showing the audience how to bake a 4-bit chocolate cake. A doctor teaching the volunteers how to perform first aid. And a bike expert telling the audience how to fix a bike. So makita natin usually sa YouTube. Makita na niyo sa buong uso na niyo sa kung paano maghimo sa muna, paano maghimo sa muna. Wala na sila kasalig or wala na sila kahulat sa mga tudlo pa sa iban ng mga tao sa palibot nila. Example, may bagong bagay na in-deliver ka din sa Shopee. Hindi ka balo kung paano gamiton. No? Sa una, mangita ka pa sa manual. Subong ang manual, pro in check. So, mangita ka sa somebody. No? Pero, wala na. Sa somebody, medyo masako ang tanan. So, what do you do? Basulod ka na lang sa YouTube. Or type mo na, how to attach a mamoni. How to remove the muna. Then, eventually, paglantaw mo, bahambal na ang tao, nag-speech na siya, pag ginapakita yung masim kung paano, ano ang actual ng correspondence sa iya ginahambal sa movement. That's why mahapos magsunod sa demonstration speech. Then here, we have the type of speech according to delivery. Diri sa babaw ka gina-purpose. Ano ang tuyok mo? Ini naman niya ang speeches according to delivery. Paano ini ginhambal? Paano ini gin-deliver? Una, manuscript speech is delivered by reading from a written text, a paper script, or a teleprompter. Basta may ginabasa, manuscript speech na. Pero of course, wala man taga-expect, no? Nga ang manuscript speech is bato-batogid niya pagbasa. No? Gintudluan na kita since we were younger, na kung basa by manuscript, we are supposed to look at the audience once in a while. So may part man dahil nga daw medyo gina sa ulo mo gamay, kay para nga makabayaw ka man sa ulo mo sa imong audience. This is manuscript speech, speaking from what you have or what you are reading. Now, usually ginagamit ini siya kung ang imong speech is not something that has to stay with you for a long time. Something that you would only want to deliver for the moment. Okay? It involves reading word for word or verbatim and is typically used when time is limited. No, hindi mo na kinanglan praktisan. Okay? Kay on the spot, kinanglan mo siya sa buong dayon. Tapos dapat ma-deliver mo na siya agad. Okay? So, we use manuscript speech, for public figures, media personalities, and spokesperson for government and private organizations. Sa mga nagabasa sa simbahan, sa mga newscasters or sa mga news anchors sa TV, kung makita ninyo, hindi man nila masaulo ang ilang ginahambal, may ginauyatan na sila. No? Kasi live nilaan, karon kung magsala siya, mabudlay na. So may ginabasa na sila, amuna ang ilang manuscript. Pero sa ka-expert man nila siguro sa pag-deliver, hindi na ito masyado manotice nga nagatika sila sa manuscript nila. No? Then, examples here are news reporting, as I have said, and presenting to PowerPoint and weather reporting. Okay? May prompter man ako kaisay. Hindi man literally nga ginauyatan nila dire, pero may prompter. Kita nga kung sa school pa, ang iban tawag nila imbecile or idiot board. No? Nang ginatapik mo ang ginabutang mo sa TV, or ginatapik mo sa Manila paper, kung sa eskulahan pa, ginatapik mo ang bilog yung script sa Manila paper, pag itaplik sa likod sa classroom, para nga pagtindog mo sa tunga, gatanga ka ng tukag nagabasa sa likod. That is manuscript speech. Memorized speech, on the other hand, requires the speaker to commit the speech to memory so that you will not bring your notes in delivery. Ang iniya, wala kang gina-expect na basahon. No? Dapat babilin siya sa imong memorya, masaulo mo siya before you do it in speech. Then we also have impromptu speech. delivered with little or no time for preparation. In this kind of speech, listening, brainstorming, analyzing, buying time, and not rushing to speak are the usual modest expectations. Ang impromptu, amo na siyang on the spot gid nga kung ano na lang ang imo nga nauyatan nga information, kung ano na lang prior knowledge nga may ara ka, amo na lang ang gamiton mo para nga mag-deliver sang speech nga nun. It is used in championship games, unexpected acceptance speech, or debates. Example, nagdaog ang MPL. Pagdaog sa MPL, interview sila. Pag interview sila, ang sabat nila are all examples of impromptu speeches. Na? Because wala siya yaging preparahan. Sino man nag-expect na ikaw ang madaog? Na? Pag indog mo daging pamangkot ta ano ang imong hinhim. So ang imong mga sabat based na lang sa kung ano ang imo na ibaluan. That is impromptu speech. Extemporaneous speech naman niya, may gamay lang siya nga pinalain, is a planned and prepared speech. It is delivered with the help of the short notes and the clear outline. Sa din mo ni siya usually makita. No? Makita mo ni siya usually sa mga pageants. Makon kita ay ano man, impromptu, ina siya ang Miss Universe na question and answer or base may mga gamay man silang information. No? Sa mga experiences na dun sa pageants, especially those sa school, for example, or sa mga local pageants, gina-present na nga daan sa mga candidates ang mga questions, probable questions, meaning may gamay na silang idea kung ano ina. Kag pwede mo na ma-arrange ang imong ideas. Unlike sa impromptu, yung nga, pagpamangkot sa imo kung ano lang ang available na information, amo na lang ang imong gamiton. Diri sa extemporaneous speaking or sa extemporaneous speech, makaprepare ka pa. Kung manotice nyo, may extemporaneous speaking kita nga mga contests. No? Sa ibang mga eskwelahan, sa ibang mga cases ng face-to-face pa, may extempo ang ginatawag. Wherein, may question ka. Tapos you will answer the question, but you are given at least 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes is alaba pa da, no? To prepare your answer. Meaning makapungko ka pa, makasettle ka pa, maka-arrange ka pa sa imong thoughts. Unlike sa impromptu, yung nga pagtindog mo question agad. Okay? Amo na ang pinalain sa extempo sa impromptu speaking. Now, may pangatlo naman na type of speech style. Okay? Here, we are going to look into how speeches are delivered. No? Basin siya sa audience na naman. Kagina to sa babaw, we have based on purpose, then we have speech based on delivery, and then this time sa speech style naman niya, based sa kung paano siya i-deliver at kung sino ang audience nga mabaton. Stylistics here is defined as a branch of linguistics that studies and interprets messages based on their tone and style. Kung ano ang language, kumbaga, no, sang imo nga gingamit, anong tono mo, ano ang words na ginagamit mo in different contexts. Okay? Style is the unique way in which the speech message is delivered to the audience. Because kung lain ang audience, lain ang style sang pag-ambal. Example, sa atong diriya subong amo ni style sang ako na pag-deliver, pero kung lain ang istorya ang akong istoryahon, or lain ang mga tao galing akong istoryahon, lain naman ang style sang ako na pag-deliver sang message. So speech styles are patterns with speaking characterized by distinctive pronunciation. We have here the first type is intimate. Intimate is used between people who have very close relationships such as family members, best friends, and couples. They are, of course, from the same context, as in almost the same nagiging context nila. So they would understand, no? They will be able to understand communication between them easily. Pwede sila ganikahatag sa meaning to certain words that only they know. Meaning may yung mga code words. May mga code names mo. Si amo ni bala, si amo ni ginapangalanan yung mga functions nyo kasi amo na kasi amo to, tapos mag-istoryahanay ka mo, amo na mga code names ang ginagamit nyo. No? That is an example of intimate speech. Kay kamo lang ang istoryahanay. Kamo nga may same background kag may close relationship. Kag kamo lang man ang makaintindi sina nga conversation. Then we have, these are examples here, no? Isang intimate nga speech. A grandson sharing his stories of achievement with his grandmother and two best friends recalling how their friendship started. Ikaduwa nga type of speech style is casual style. A conversational way of talking among friends. If you're speaking in a casual style, you use a lot of trendy words and phrases, speaks in incomplete sentences, uses slang, not conscious about pronunciation, grammar, or choice of words. Bira lang, suya lang. No, kay intindihan man na sa mga pamati. Of course, you have to be in the same context also. That is why ang casual, usually ginagamit man sang friends, no, or close people man na hindi kita maka-close pero may na-establish na nga relationship. Example, group of friends enjoy talking to each other while eating in a restaurant. Okay? Then next we have consultative speech. Consultative style is a conversational style, meaning the exchange, in which the speaker constantly observes the listener's verbal and nonverbal cues for feedback as to whether the speaker seems to be giving too little or too much information. Often evident among communicators who are not very familiar to each other or between two parties of different social positions. The speaker pronounces words well, chooses words carefully, and speaks in complete sentences in order to minimize misunderstanding. Because again, medyo lain na ang context ng duwa. No? Medyo lain na ang levels ng ihibalos ng isa compared sa isa. So, daw may gamay nga respect, may gamay nga taha, no? May gamay man nga identify nga ako ya amo ko sini ikaw idara ka, no, kinahanglan klaruhon ang explanation, klaruhon ang pag-deliver sa message in order for both sides to be able to understand and undergo feedback properly. A example sini is a student asking his teacher on his performance. Actually, subong gani ito na notice ko ang teacher at student communication nagiging casual compared sa consultative already. Sa unaya, before ka magpalapit kay sir mo, kung mamangkot mo, kulang mo, dago na kulog ka pa, kung ginapanumdum mo pa, kung ano ang words na gamitin mo, nga doon hindi ka man mahuyan. Subong niya, pisan good morning, wala ka na iba good morning, na mamangkot na, kulang ko. Okay? Daw medyo nagalain na siya, pero supposed to be consultative siya. No? Kaya makita mo, dapat may level eh. Lain siya, taas-taas siya gawa sa imo, so mamangkot ka kung mga information from him or her. An employee asking his manager about his functions in case he will be promoted. No? So meaning, makita mo, hindi sila of the same level. Ang isa medyo taas-taas, so ang isa nagapangayo, no? In a formal way, nag-ask sa babaw sa information. And then the babaw should give the information to the inferior, no? With correct and complete data. Kahit para nga maklaro man sa lower or the inferior group, no? Nga amon ang galingbot na malon ni superior group. Okay? Then we also have the formal speech style, which is called upon when speaking in formal settings, no matter how the participants are related to each other. Much of the language spoken in formal style depends on what the education system has taught individuals as to be used in formal settings. Now, usually kita nag-English kita kung sa mga formal style sa public speaking. Example here is a student delivering a persuasive speech. No? Pero in a formal basis. Kung may mga formal gatherings. Lain man na iya ang nagahambal sa tubang sa during mga game shows, no? Or mga variety shows. Even though they're speaking to an audience, they're not doing it in formal way because ang context hindi man gid masyadong formal, daw casual lang ang approach, daw gina-consider mo lang audience mo of your same level only. Diri sa formal, gina-consider ka sa audience mo as somebody who is speaking above them. So you have to present that you know better, no? And then your audience will of course react, no, in a way na daw respectable man ang imo presentation. Then we have the frozen style, which is a very formal style characterized by the lack of participation and feedback given from the receiver's end. This is often seen in formal ceremonies and rituals like weddings, baptism, and other proclamations with formulaic statements. The language used in this speech style is often filled with allusions and rich lexicon. The rendering of the utterance is monotone and formal. The best example that we can consider for frozen are though naka-script, no, manuscripted and formulated na nga mga speeches given in ceremonies. Like, for example, ang panatang makabayan. That is already a frozen style. Why? Because it has already been established there and has been repeated lang over and over again. Now, another example would be kung magpakasal ka, no, na balang to have and to hold, to blah blah blah, no, in sickness and in health, till death do us part, na mga formal na sila frozen ng styles because they have been established there already by a particular group of people na accepted na pag every time you do this activity, you will follow this formula of speech. Examples here is by virtue of the power vested upon me, I now declare you blah blah blah, so help me God, no, sa mga panunumpa, diba? By the decree, we anoint with the oil of salvation and etc. So frozen siya because of the fact na formal siya, no? Kag ano na siya, established na siya. Meaning ara na siya daya. No, ang example pagid siguro kung sa mga Catholic ka, ang text na pala or ang ginahambal sa pari, no, sa particular parts of the mass. May mga nagalain-lain na everyday, pero may mga part man nga repetitive na siya, kay established na nga sa amo nga adlaw, amo nga type of belasahon ang gamito. Okay? Amo na ang example sa mga frozen styles. Mga nasulat na sila sa kasulatan, kag ginasulit-sulit lang if we undergo these procedures. That's why we call them formulaic statements. May formula na, may arrangement na ang words. Okay? Now, in every speech, you want to be able to speak and to be understood. So it is very important to learn the skills in public communication. In speech delivery, we should consider articulation, modulation, facial expression, gestures, and movements. Stage presence, which refers to charisma and charm of a theater actor or performer, establishes rapport with the audience. So articulation, or the way or style of delivery. Modulation is the pitch or tone, kung ano katunog kahinay, kung kinanglan nga tuduhan, singgitan, o kung kinanglan nga mahina kag daw kinahuli lang, no? Para ka makakreate some impression kag clarification sa mga nagapamati sa inyo. Okay? Now, we proceed to your activity number 3 here. We have actually multiple choice. Actually, kung man-notice natin ang tanan halos na activity sa week 6, puro tanan mga objective. No? Meaning daw wala masyado sa subjective na activity dire. That is why ang inyo sinidiri nga answer sheet daw puro na lang blank. No? Pag-identify nyo lang ang mga answers. So, buligan na lang nato ng isa sa pagsabasin ng mga questions maaari diri sa activity number 3 nato. Example, if you're asked, number 1, if you're asked to give a speech at a birthday party or a crowd demands a toast at your friend's wedding, this will likely be which of the following types of speeches? Is it memorized? Kasi wala mo man na mapreparahan, no? Nga, nag-attend ka lang, wala pa sila naghambal nga ikaw ang ma-speech. Is it manuscript? Kasi wala ka man gano'n ikapreparar, impromptu, or extemporaneous. Okay? Given sa situation, for example, na wala ka prepare, tapos kinhambalan kaya pagkadto mo lang sa parking na, we could consider that as an extemporaneous speech. However, if nakapreparar ka, it could either be a memorized speech, a manuscript speech, no? Or kung wala ka pag ideya naka-prepare, kaginbutong ka lang then question, it could be an impromptu speech. Okay? Number 2, which of the following is an example of an impromptu speech? You're asked to prepare a speech for your sister's wedding, which you then read because you are afraid to speak in public. You're asked to prepare a speech for your family's reunion. After the dinner party, you move up the stage and decide to give a speech off the top of your head. And letter D, all the answers are correct. So which one is an example of an impromptu speech? The correct answer is letter C. Because you move up without preparation and decide to give a speech off the top of your head. Meaning kung ano na lang ang nagwa dira sa imo nga ulo. Number 3, which of the following is a scenario that includes an extemporaneous speech? Letter A, Kobe has just finished his class report and upon asking for feedback, his classmates told him that they found the report well presented but they didn't like that he spoke in a very monotonous voice. B. Kobe has just finished his class report. Upon asking for feedback, his classmates told him that they felt the lack of eye contact, animation, or movement on stage. C. Kobe has just finished his class report, and upon asking for feedback, he is told that it felt well organized. He never went too far off topic, and he seemed to know all the facts, but it also never felt over rehearsed and was engaging. So, which of these three is a scenario that includes extemporaneous speech? Kapag extemporaneous, again, may gamay nga time for preparation. So, we could consider the answer based on our understanding of what extemporaneous speech is. Kobe has just finished his class report, and upon asking for feedback, his classmates told him that they found the report well presented, but they didn't like it. That he spoke in a very monotonous voice. No, kung makita natin actually, ang A, B, kag C daw, sa feedback siya nga side isang classmates. No? Feedback siya nga sa isang classmates sa ilan na niya nga reaction to Kobe's presentation or class report. Okay? Number 4, Jessie tends to put her hands in her pockets when she is speaking in front of a large audience. What is the best position for Jessie to place her hands on during a speech? Hindi siya dapat mabutang sa kamot niya during a speech. On her hips, at her sides, folded in front of her, or crossed over her chest. Okay? When we speak in public, it is highly advisable that we put our hands both sides. Put down your hands unless otherwise you would use it for important and relative gestures. However, kung manotice na itong kung involved, di kita katama sa atong ginahambal, na without our expectation, without our knowing, nagahulat kita now to express what we would like to say. Number 5, it is the use of body movements to send a message. Body movement. Okay? Which of these 4 will be considered as body movement? Non-verbal communication. Not only hand, not only eye, not only the posture, but the whole body movement is considered a non-verbal communication. Number 6, Bella gave a speech in a public speaking class. The content of her speech was good, but she used words like and a lot, which he was speaking. Which category would the teacher say that Bella needed to work on for her speech? Is it the rate, the tone, the fluency, or the articulation? Of course, it's about the articulation because she had to speak properly with the use of proper words in her presentation. Okay? Mahaba pa pala to. Okay. Number 7. What may go wrong with a memorized speech? You may forget a line or two. Reading from manuscript is boring. The note cards you use may distract the audience. The casual nature of making things up as you go along may be confusing to the audience. So the very relatable example answer probably would be letter A. You may forget a line or two. Pag usually, ang matabo is kung malipatan mo lang isa ka linya, kung ano tong sugpon niya, madula ka na. No? May malipatan ka lang isa ka word, feeling mo daw wala na sang sugpon ang imong memorized speech. Ano ang problema sa memorized speech? Number 8. How would an audience know that the speaker was giving an extemporaneous speech? If the speaker uses no notes and recites a memorized text, if the speaker has a manuscript that is read directly to the audience, if the speaker uses a few notes to look at and talks in a conversational tone, or if the title extemporaneous speaker is listed by his or her name in the program. So which do you think? No? Obviously, the audience would know that the speaker was giving an extemporaneous speech if may ara na title. Kag if the speaker also uses a few notes to look at and talks in a conversational tone. And G is worried that giving a memorized speech may be boring. What advice could you give him to make sure it isn't? How do you make a memorized speech not boring? A. Relax, breathe, and write the speech in language that is familiar. B. Focus only on getting the lines right and not on the audience's response to the speech. C. Give the speech as quickly as possible so that the audience members will have to focus to keep up. And D. Give the audience a copy of the speech so that they can follow along and notice if you make a mistake. Okay? The best advice that is given for this type of situation is to relax, breathe, and write the speech in a language that is familiar. That's why ko na ko magpa-memorize ko sa speech no gusto ko ang speech inyo. Kay imo na siya expression. Pag mas mahapos mag-deliver, magsaulusan sa kabagay kung halin mismo sa imo ang idea. Okay? Number 10. Why is it important for a speaker to make eye contact with the audience? A. It creates a bond of distrust. B. It tells the audience that he is dishonest. C. It tells the audience that he is confident in the material. Or D. It makes the audience less likely to remain engaged. The correct answer would be letter C. Activity 4. Identification. What type of speech is used or appropriate in the following speech situations? Number 1. A teacher is asking for a sick leave sa iya nga authority, meaning inferior to superior, that is persuasive. Kaya nag-ask siya, nagapangayo siya sa consideration. Number 2, a lawyer talking about the cybercrime law for the purpose of information. 3, a professional talking about his achievements, na perhaps for the purpose of information or for the purpose of entertainment. Number 4, a vendor asking a customer to buy his products, persuasive because you're asking the customer to buy. Number 5, a teacher lecturing about types of speech styles is informative. A researcher reporting the outcome of his research is another informative speech. A mother teaching her daughter how to sew her torn skirt, kay procedural siya, is demonstration. An old man asking a teenager to help him carry his luggage is persuasive. Kaya may ginapangayo ka. Number 9, a student being asked by his teacher why he is always absent is informative. Kinanglan ni teacher mabalaan kung nga ang permi ka imo absent. Tag number 10, a father telling his children his most unforgettable experience during his childhood could be entertainment. Activity 5, choose one talking point. Write a short speech expressing your opinion about the question. How would you say it using the various speech styles? Copy the table below and read your answer in your answer sheets. Are the following conditions fair or unfair? One. Okay. So we have here the table. No, I think this is not part already of your answer sheet. Then in activity 6, you are asked to consider or to identify what type of speech is those here in the items. Okay. Number 7, for activity 7, identify the type of speech style appropriate for the following situation. Okay, speech style. Manaling focus, no? Talking to a lawyer, consulting to a doctor, talking to a stranger, etc. Okay? Sa activity 8 naman niya, identify the situation if it is intimate, casual, consultative, frozen, or formal. Okay? So, we have here a reflection. Sa activity 9, give 2 sample speech situations appropriate for each speech style. Okay? For example, consultative style, consulting a dentist for a toothache. Okay? So, identify nyo ang mga speech styles. No? Tapos, hatag lang kamo sang duwa ka personal examples ninyo sang mga experiences or sang mga situations nga nahulog sa amon nga speech style. Then, on activity number 10, you're asked to answer the following questions. Why do we need to vary our speech style when conversing with different persons? Number 2, is one speech style fitted or appropriate to any kind of audience? Why do you think yes or why do you think no? Number 11, activity, look for an example of each type of speech according to purpose. Okay? Then copy and fill at the table based on the content of the speech in your activity. Do not forget to include the name of the author. So we have here example. The title of the speech is The Filipinos Overtime 4 by Benigno Aquino. Then we have the persuasive type of speech and the purpose for which the author have written the speech. So ilan nyo lang ni ang informative, entertainment, or demonstration speech. Sa activity number 12, choose the speech style that is appropriate to the speech context presented. Write the letter of your choice. Malaba-laba ang mga activities dire sa aton nga week number 6, no? But if we look into our answer sheet, ladies and gentlemen, I am opening the window now for the answer sheets, no? Amo lang niya mga activities nga i-submit ninyo. Activity 3, Activity 4, Activity 6, Activity 8, kag Activity 12. So you will focus on working on these 5 activities only. Okay? So again, here ends our, by the way ha, sa inyo ba lang ang mga module, it ends usually with a glossary. Kaya tiara sa glossary kung pwede lang, no, matry nyo man familiarize ang self ninyo sa mga important words na makitaan sa glossary sa inyong mga modules per week. Okay? Some people, I appreciate those who are watching this video. Kung may iban nga naga-feedback nga naga-take note sila, no, sa paglantaw sa aton nga mga video, pag nakabuli ko na sa ila. Thank you very much for that feedback, for that positive feedback. I hope padayon na makabuli ko ni sa inyo papaintindi sang kung ano ang dapat natin maintindihan sa modules sa subong semana. Because we know it is hard for us to do understanding on our own. We need help, no? And this is one way by which we could help as your mentors in this field. So again, thank you very much for watching this video. Medyo malawig-lawig ni kasi this is already week 6 for the first quarter of oral communication. Now we only have one more week and then we end our first quarter. So once again, this is your third task and I hope this helps. Now thank you very much for watching our video run.